Jing Wei War has plagued the kingdom of Belleger for so long that its soldiers have given up on peace. This war is all the more brutal thanks to magical weapons of mass destruction called decimates, which incinerate soldiers by the dozen or inflict deadly pestilences in the middle of battle. Seeking the rumored seventh decimate, which can ostensibly quell the other six, and may turn the war's tide, the heir to the throne embarks on a grueling quest to reach a legendary sorcerer's library. There are no subtleties in Seventh Decimate Berkeley, $27, by the acclaimed fantasy veteran Stephen R. Donaldson. The Decimates decimate. Key characters have blatantly descriptive names like Abater or Rumhage, or, for the leader of the exotic brown-skinned desert dwellers the prince encounters, Set. The library is a literal ivory tower full of scholarly magic users. Yet amid all this blatant symbolism, it's difficult to discern a theme or focus. There is potential here for a meditation on how privation feeds bigotry. As Prince Bifalt travels, he repeatedly rails at non-Bellegerans for doing what his people cannot, like learning multiple languages, or for wasting time with frivolities like dance and study. In many ways he is the stereotypical American abroad, confronted with his own insularity. Faced with so much diversity, so much lying outside his experience, he felt an unexpected impulse to draw back. Instinctively, he wanted to retreat to his pallet and sleep until the world shrank to more comprehensible dimensions. There is no basis for Bifalt's resentment, though none of these outsiders are responsible for his country's endless war. He, as prince, is more capable than anyone of ending the conflict. He is simply wrong, and blaming others for his wrongness. Since this is the start of a projected trilogy, however, maybe it's too soon to tell where Donaldson is going. Let's hope future volumes define the arc. In the covered unseen world of Cat Howard's new novel, An Unkindness of Magicians Saga, $25.99, readers can find an intriguing microcosm of New York's wealthy elite, plus magic. The book's high society magicians belong to houses, like private clubs, whose open secret is that their power comes from exploitation. Each gives a living sacrifice to shadows, a torture chamber that drains victims of magic and allows member houses to wield power without consequence. The draining is usually fatal, but one powerful survivor has recently emerged, determined to avenge her fellow victims and dismantle the corrupt system. Amid the crucible of a kind of magical final four, the formidable Sydney makes her move. A revenge tale, a charismatic outsider, and a powerful metaphor for all the ways the unfortunate are made to serve the tables and fashions of the privileged, or maybe not. Howard never delves into the obvious parallels between her unseen world and our own. Mostly, the story gives Sydney a chance to show off how amazing she is. This is interesting, to a point, but it's also a bit glib and underdeveloped in terms of theme and world-building alike. For example, the novel's lone black character is utterly naive about the unseen world's secrets, putting him in the unlikely position of needing to have power and privilege explained to him. Likewise, the elite of the unseen world are oddly staged for New York society members. There are no boorish mob-connected real estate moguls here, no garish heiresses carefully arranging to be caught nude for Instagram. The magician's most amazing magic is in avoiding interest from the paparazzi. Even in the context of fantasy, a modern novel addressing privilege and exploitation needs to go hard or go home. Sadly, Howard pulls her punches. The result is a New York that doesn't feel quite like New York, and a revolutionary whose quest for revenge feels toothless. However, readers who just want to see a powerful woman own a society of snooty magicians will love it. Andy Weir's first novel, The Martian, told the story of the astronaut Mark Watney, stranded on Mars to fend for himself with grit, ingenuity and engineering know-how. Robinson Crusoe in Space. Originally self-published, it was scooped up by a big house and eventually turned into a blockbuster movie starring Matt Damon. How to follow up that kind of success? Weir's second novel, Artemis Crown, $27, takes place in the first city built on the moon, an industrial and tourist haven that gives the book its title. Weir plausibly depicts near-future colonization technology, and showcases the opportunists and laborers who eke out a living in this expensive, precarious habitat. It's like a whole city of Mark Watneys. The problem is that it's a whole city of Mark Watneys. Characters constantly crack wise, but this doesn't quite disguise their shallowness, or the lead in dialogue and repetitive narration. The protagonist is Jaz Bissara, a young Saudi woman, Muslim but secular, who's lived on the moon since she was 6. She talks and acts like a middle American white man, with occasional stereotypical exceptions, as when she must pretend to be a prostitute. Then she talks and acts like a middle American white man pretending to be a prostitute. Jaz is brilliant, as she constantly informs the reader, and as secondary characters inform her, and as her antagonists point out. Unfortunately, she's also poor, so she has become a smuggler who pulls the odd illegal job for Artemis Elite. When a local business mogul hires her to sabotage a rival corporation, it's her chance to escape poverty. Alas, since the rival turns out to be a front for the Brazilian mafia, things don't go as planned. This is a heist narrative at heart, but it lacks the core elements of modern heist narratives: no team of charming specialists, no surprise plot twists. That may be fine for hard science fiction fans who prioritize idea over execution, or who simply crave well-researched technical speculation presented as fiction. Otherwise, this is a 300-page film pitch that, like its predecessor, will probably be more appealing after it goes to Hollywood. Everything Old is New in Axio's latest science fiction epic for young adults, Rebel Soul 2 books, $19.95. Amid a global war, the world has reordered itself into militaristic city-states like Neo-Beijing, Neo-Tokyo and the American Neo-States. But teenagers will still be teenagers, and high school will still be grim, no less so when the exams include giant robots and your teachers might kill you if you fail. Billed as a cross between Guillermo del Toro's movie Pacific Rim and Korean action dramas, the story is rather more the latter. Unlike in Pacific Rim, those giant robots here called God machines are just the ironic backdrop to a quintessentially anti-war story. Lee Jae-won, a note-greedy orphan from the slums of Neo-Seoul, has scammed his way into a prestigious high school, hoping for an easier life. Unfortunately, he also happens to be the best fighter at a school where generals routinely observe war simulations. Through a convoluted series of events, Jae-won is recruited for a project to produce genetically engineered super soldiers. Of course they're teenage girls. Of course Jae-won is smitten with one, who can rip the arm off a god machine without effort. Anyone who's watched enough K-dramas will see where the story's going. This isn't necessarily bad, since the strength of a good K-drama lies in its characterization. With a secret past as the son of a failed rebel, Jae-won must choose whether to accept society's corruption or follow in his father's footsteps. The conclusion is foregone, but it works thanks to Oh's eloquent writing, delivered in a stark, understated style that suits the dystopian tone. Any lesser prose in the story might have edged into satire. As it is, it's moody, explodey fun. N.K. Jemisin won the Hugo Award for Best Novel in 2016, and again in 2017, for the first two parts of the Broken Earth trilogy, which concluded last month. Her column on science fiction and fantasy appears 6 times a year. A version of this review appears in print on November 5, 2017, on page BR 27 of the Sunday Book Review with the headline Science Fiction Fantasy.